Does the very thought of speaking in front of a group of people terrify you? I remember being in middle and high school and having to take a failing grade rather than give a presentation. Um, I would also refuse to answer questions when called on by a teacher, and this seemed to get me in a lot of trouble. But I never did it to be a problem child or a jerk kid. I was literally so scared that I couldn't make words come out. And there's a term for this. It is called glossophobia, which is the fear of public speaking. Now, something I struggle with a little bit, and in order to overcome it, I've done a lot of research on it. And I also know I'm not the only one that struggled with some severity of it. If you don't struggle with some severity of it, you know somebody who does. And lack of understanding can be harmful to the person that does experience it. The things to know about glossophobia are its causes, its symptoms, its treatments, and the fact that it's common. Now, there are two causes, or two main causes. One being trauma, and it can be something that didn't even seem very significant at that time. It could have just been a little embarrassment, but in the long run, it affects you your whole life. Another one is genetic predisposition, which is pretty common when dealing with mental health or anxiety and phobias and things like that. If a family member had things like phobias and anxieties, then you're more likely to experience it. Another thing to know about glossophobia are its symptoms. There's symptoms that the speaker themselves experience, such as trembling, sweating, hot and cold flashes, nausea, vomiting, panic attacks, and elevated heart rate. And there's also symptoms that other people may notice, such as tension and low tone of voice and lack of energy from the speaker. The third thing to know about glossophobia is its treatments. There are treatments for glossophobia. One being exposure therapy, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's exposure to situations under professional guidance. Another treatment for glossophobia is cognitive behavior therapy. It teaches you coping mechanisms to use in certain situations. And then there's medications, like anxiety medications and stuff like that. And then last thing to know about glossophobia is that it's very common. According to King University, it is the most common phobia, affecting about 74% of the population. That is more than people than people that suffer from thanatophobia, which is the fear of death, which affects about 68% of the population. So when you really think about it, people would rather die than speak in front of groups of people. In conclusion, the things to know about glossophobia are its causes, its symptoms, its treatments, and the fact that it's common. So if you do suffer from some severity of glossophobia, you are far, far from alone. 74% of the population, that's a large number. But it can get better. My husband now can speak in front of pretty much anybody in any situation. But he wasn't always like that. He used to get really bad anxiety and his stomach would get upset. But after speaking in front of classrooms with hundreds of students for 5 years, he's gotten a lot more comfortable, or around speaking, or he's gotten a lot more comfortable speaking around other people, and now he can speak in pretty much any situation. So there is a chance that it gets better. Thanks.